everyone, and welcome along to another VCO Esports studio with me, Ben Constanduros. As always, VCO aims to combine the worlds of virtual and real-world racing, and in our chat show, like to chat to some of the key players across both the esports world and the real racing world, whether it be drivers, organisers, or team managers. And today, we focus on Formula E and their Accelerate Championship, which is being hosted on rFactor 2 and kind of dominated so far by Erhan Yuyovsky. We spoke to Erhan a couple of months back when he was dominating the GT series that we ran on VCO, but we didn't really talk to too many other of the rFactor specialists. So, with Kevin Siggy taking victory last time out, it was a great opportunity to chat to Kevin in his BMW colours, representing BMW Andretti in the Formula E Accelerate Championship. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. How has it been so far, the championship?
The championship has been kind of a disaster at the start. The first two rounds weren't the best for me, but in the third one, I kind of picked it up. So I'm looking forward to the second half and see what's going to happen then.
What have the challenges been for the Accelerate Championship? Of course, you have a little bit of experience during the lockdown with a Formula E Championship, but it looks like it's progressed quite a lot since then.
Yeah, it has progressed because last season we did not have that many really good drivers in that regard in the championship. But this time around we have an even stronger field. We got F1 Esports guys who are really strong, especially Feredi. He's doing really well, and we've got Erhan, who is obviously one of the top 3 rFactor drivers in the world. Getting a go at it as well next to me. So it's kind of a tough championship, I would say, and it's definitely a bit spicy here, a bit spicier than last season.
How much involvement do you have with the BMW Andretti team that you're representing?
Basically, I'm there as a driver, obviously, so I'm one of their main guys to focus on the championship, and that's what I'm trying to do throughout the whole season, just like I did last season. And I've obviously got a bit more stuff to do with BMW, like as a whole. But this is one of the championships that I'm doing with them, and it's going to be for the entirety of the season.
Yeah, important to note that BMW have been so strong in their involvement in sim racing over the last couple of years, and you are part of Team Redline, but Team Redline are also associated to BMW along with a couple of other teams, and that's where your involvement comes in, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It does, because BMW's obviously chose a lot more teams than just Redline, but I'm still happy to work with them, and I'm happy to be like a how should I say, in a collaboration in a sense. And working with BMW is obviously amazing. I get to drive a lot of special events, and I think it's four different championships, one of them being GT Pro for season 3, and obviously this is the second one, the Formula E, and there's definitely much more to come, and I hope we can get a lot of stuff working well, and I think we're going to do a pretty good job at it.
Talk about the challenges of the Formula E Accelerate Championship. Obviously, there are quite different things for you to do as a driver, and one of the big kind of keys to your victory last time out was making sure you got the right number of laps and knowing how many laps the race was going to go to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this new kind of implementation of energy management and attack mode was, I would say, a bit surprising to me, because I did not really kind of bank on rFactor to put out these features. But learning it was not the hardest thing to do, because it's not really fully implemented. It doesn't have the full details of actual Formula E, so it's not as hard, but it's still pretty interesting to learn, especially energy management, which I really needed like an hour to figure out and how things kind of work in a car, especially when going around laps, and how much energy you need to save throughout the lap to literally make it through in the end. And obviously we saw in round 3 it was much harder. I think that was the hardest energy management race we had, because it was just like a small margin, like 2-3 seconds before the line and before the time runs out. So it was kind of hard knowing how many laps we're going to do. So like how much you can save per lap, and it was pretty interesting so far. But I like it.
And how much does it change the way you approach the platform, rFactor 2? How different does it feel to the things that you're used to?
It does feel different. I mean, there's not a lot of like fuel saving in other cars that we're doing unless we're doing like some endurance events. So to me, I'm used to rFactor as like a just go and full send it through every single corner, every single straight, and not worry
Yeah.
about fuel as much. So it is a bit different, and there's obviously not that much detail in it as well. But having attack mode and all these different kinds of features that are, I wouldn't say new to sim racing, but like something more, something a bit different on rFactor in general. It's a good addition to the game, and it's a good addition to sim racer for us to learn new things, and for us to like have a new challenge and have something more than just going out and doing laps, just like qualifying, and that's it.
Quite cool to have a championship like Formula E being represented very strongly in the simulation world. You know, Formula One has gone down the mass simcade route, but having Formula E kind of really focusing on being as genuine as possible, with the tracks being replicated way better than even we saw 9 months ago. Must be cool to be involved in that championship as a whole.
Yeah, I think Formula E has done a really good job, and I think they've had a step in the right direction for this. Unlike F1, I mean, F1 they do their own thing. Obviously, they go into the Codemasters games, which aren't really necessarily the most, like, I would say, simulation like. But I don't really care. Like, being involved with Formula E is really amazing. It's been great since the previous year, and I really like I really like that they do it in such a level as well, because um, I think proper sims don't really get that much love, rather than like other arcade games such as F1. So boosting the fan base of people in rFactor is really good, and I really like it because obviously we're trying to like simulate everything with the tracks and cars as well, and make it look more realistic than the F1 game does, which has a lot of quirks and a lot of features that really don't make sense in real life. So yeah, I mean, it's been a good time. I like Formula E for doing it.
All right, so away from Formula E, let's look at your kind of involvement and career so far. Where did the love for motorsport come from for you?
Oof, years ago, I would say. I would say in the late noughties, I would say, is when I properly started like looking into games and sort of racing games in general. I did have some, I think it was a 97 Formula One game. I can't remember which edition it was, which I had on PS1. So that's kind of where it properly started, I would say, like knowing motorsport in general. And then when I started following motorsport, it was like 2004 when watching Michael Schumacher drive in F1, and buying the 2005 Formula One game and playing on the pad, and then buying the wheel and trying it that way. But properly, like my career actually started in, I would say, 2011, when I started playing F1 2011, just kind of playing online and having fun. And then I started off in iRacing in I wouldn't say local, but like Slovenian championship, and that's where I kind of started off my career, and it went uphill afterwards. 2013 started driving rFactor, and that's why I'm still here.
So, are you saying that your knowledge of real world motorsport came from having a F1 game? I mean, Slovenia not particularly a known place for a massive motorsport culture, really, is it?
Actually, that's not true. I mean, motorsport in general has like
Okay.
GT3 or F1 style. Like that's obviously not the kind of country that you would know about based on motorsport. But I think hill climb is one of the, most known motorsports there because I mean that's the really cheapest. I mean the cheapest way to like do motorsport there, but it's not exactly like circuit racing. So that's where I kind of looked into, let's say. But yeah, I basically started off watching motorsport, like obviously F1 and things like that. And my dad obviously did some hill climb as well, so I kind of went into that
Oh,
category
cool.
myself. Tried it a couple of times. So yeah, that's what my country is actually known for. I mean, not really known for, but like that's what people do the most, traveling to Austria or
Yep.
Croatia to do hill climb or slaloms and everything like that. So that's how I basically got into motorsport. It's from the family. It's from watching TV, playing games. Obviously knowing, obviously being involved in motorsport like that, like since the childhood, uh, growing around cars every single time. So yeah, that's how I know the sport. Let's say.
So you've had a bit of real world experience in hill climbs with your dad. Have you still got that desire to continue that, if possible, outside of your sim racing career?
I think hill climb probably not. It's been a great experience, obviously driving a real car, but the goal for me would be to drive any sort of like GT or Formula Series in real life. Getting from sim racing to there is going to be a tough task, but I'm trying to I'm trying to work for it, obviously, and that's what my main goal has been for a long time, really.
And you've got a very good badge on your shirt that probably can help you out in
I hope
in that
so.
regard. You said you started off with iRacing with your kind of multiplayer career, but you've become a bit more of an rFactor 2 specialist. Is that fair to say, or do you like to think of yourself as somebody who's all rounded across all the different platforms?
I would say I'll run it in all platforms except for iRacing. I would say I think iRacing is super hard to nail, and I really didn't put enough time into it. Even if I started off in 2012, I was more keen on driving rFactor 1 and the old Assetto Corsa in that regard. iRacing wasn't really my major goal in like being in the top spot there, even though I still did it until 2016 actively, I think it was. But then I obviously stopped, and rFactor was basically the only game that I knew from the ground. I mean, from the ground up, I would say, or whatever you call it. Like I
Mm.
knew almost everything about it, and like learning throughout the years and how that sim works was obviously beneficial for my entire career. So I kind of stayed there. I kind of enjoy it more. There's less kind of like major issues in R Factor. Like I think I tolerate the issues of R Factor more than I tolerate the stuff from iRacing, and it's just not that natural to me. I like other games that feel more natural. Like even though I'm gonna piss people off from the iRacing scene, I don't really care. I like R Factor just because it drives a bit differently and it drives in a way that I can be a bit more aggressive on my tires, as well as Race Room or Assetto Corsa. But like mainly, I've been um, in the top five, top three in R Factor since I would say 2018. That's where I kind of
Yep.
went uphill a lot in this game. So that's why I, s- that's why I stayed here. That's why I'm going to stay here for a long time.
And do you see a benefit, therefore, in kind of really focusing on one single platform and understanding every intricacy of that rather than moving around and trying to be a master of all?
I think if you're talented enough, you can do it in many titles. I think Frederic Rasmussen proved that in iRacing. He was one of the top guys in some of the championships. Not necessarily the top two, like Gregor Hutu was years ago. But yeah, like going from iRacing to F1 Esports and then R Factor and being top there is was really good for him. So that's what I'm trying to replicate. I've been replicating that since I can remember. 2016, I think, is when I was driving race room and rFactor at the same time as well as Assetto Corsa. So like, yeah, if you're talented enough, if you understand the sim really well and your driving style suits that, I think you can do really good combining all the sims together and like making a living out of sim racing, because only looking at one category, one sim is, I don't think, is enough currently, because there's still not enough money for you to like make a living year in year out. So you just gotta move in certain sims and focus on the ones that you're obviously the strongest at, but still try and make sure you're top 10, top 5 in others.
So you talk about the R factor feeling more kind of natural to you, and some of the weird quirks of iRacing not working out so well for you. Do you feel therefore that your skill set from R factor 2 translates quite easily to race room and Assetto Corsa in a way that it doesn't to iRacing?
Yeah, I think it does. Like iRacing is, for me, it's just a disaster of a sim. Like in my point of view, not in a way that, and I'm not trying to say that iRacing is a disaster, but like for me, going onto that sim is just a horrible experience. I don't really enjoy driving it, and I'm not really good at it as well for some odd reason. I think it was the equipment. I don't know what it was. I had all of my excuses there, but I think rFactor translated into other sims such as Race Room was like a much easier transition, because Race Room and rFactor are built in the similar engine, or like the same engine as rFactor 1 was. So like transitioning between those two was pretty easy, and going into Assetto Corsa Competizione and the old Assetto, like those felt the most natural to me, but still, even though they feel different, I would still say I've done a pretty good job learning them and kind of being a bit more active in them. So it obviously did help, but like for iRacing, it just doesn't. I don't know. I just there's something in this sim that I don't like. My driving style doesn't like it, and I just cannot drive on it.
So obviously you're not going to be going for the iRacing World Championship anytime soon, but there are, as you say, competitions out there. Are you the kind of driver that's looking for that next big competition and like to enter these different large, well-known, well-associated competitions, and that's how you're kind of progressing your career?
Yeah, definitely. Like every single special event that rFactor or any other sim does, I'm gonna try and look for. Obviously, the team knows much more than I do before the event starts, so I get to know the information beforehand. So I can kind of prepare the calendar and see if I'm available. But obviously, like I try and do as many championships as possible, as many special events like 24-hour races as I can with the team, and that's what the team expects as well. And yeah, I mean, it's what I've been doing since 2013, looking at championship group, doing a bit more every single year. The more time I get next to university and obviously all of that. So like driving driving like three different series at the same time is one of the goals to do every single year for me. Four is not, I don't think is necessarily like, I think for me four series at the same time is a bit of a stretch, but like doing three and doing a lot of special events in the year, I would say six minimum is the goal for me every single year, and that's what I'm trying to achieve.
And so, and also combining that with university, what are you studying?
I'm studying game design. So my major is
Cool.
called communication and media. So yeah, I'm studying game design, trying to go into graphics design, things like that, which obviously helps me working in Team Redline, as I'm trying to help them out in that department as well as I did with my internship half a year ago, and that's what it's gonna kind of help me in sim racing in general, because like everything is digital, so like maybe moving into streaming would work, and that would help me out in sense. So yeah, just trying to have something in reserve as well if sim racing doesn't work out. But I'm very confident it's gonna be fine in the next couple of years. So yeah, it's still, but it's still good to have some sort of education.
So do you see sim racing continuing to grow? Obviously, it had an incredible year in 2020, thanks partly to the lockdown. But do you see that momentum continuing?
I think I do. Yes, I think the momentum is still gonna increase year in year out because so many different manufacturers are joining, so many different teams from F1 to like any other team, basically from VEC and things like that. I think the more teams that are going to join, the bigger the deal is going to be, especially when drivers such as Fernando Alonso and others like they did on the iRacing Daytona, they're going to boost the fan base, and then everyone's going to be super into sim racing. And in my opinion, looking down the line 5 6 years, I think it's going to be growing even more. And I hope it reaches its peak pretty soon, so that we we kind of like get more recognized in esports as well, other than League of Legends and Call of Duty. So we're not that sort of niche category of esports that just isn't that well known. So, but it's looking really good, I would say.
Tell us what it's like being part of Team Redline. Obviously, the most kind of established team out there, been there around for forever. How does it work for you?
It works really well. I really enjoy being in the team. I mean, that's the team I've been like eyeing on like for the next couple of years to kind of join in. But it caught me by the surprise last March when Dom gave me a Discord chat. I mean, a Discord message to join the team. It was like it was almost like a dream come true, I would say, because the team is obviously so high up in the I mean, basically, it's the pillar of sim racing, I would say, and it's so high up, like in popularity and like respect and all that kind of stuff. I really am grateful for that opportunity. So, and obviously working with them, it's like amazing. All the people that are in the team are amazing to talk to, amazing to collaborate, and everything like that. And obviously working from the office, as you can see around me, I'm in the headquarters of Team Redline now, so working here is amazing as well. I get to work with Ata Karakov, Diedrich, with Dom, with like all the people online at the moment, but hopefully physically as well in the next coming months. So yeah, I mean, this first year of racing with Team Redline has been amazing. I loved it, and I hope I can do so for like many more years because I don't think I want to leave.
Tell us about actually the being present. We see that with Coanda with their house, and obviously sort of starting with Atsi and at Team Redline. How important is it being there rather than at home and only communicating online?
Pretty important, I would say. Like some sort of physical interaction with people is really good, I would say. I get to talk with Atse a lot daily when I'm trying to drive for when I'm practicing with some series. I think for me it is important to like socialize with him and try and ask him a lot of questions. If I don't know anything, if I don't know something, I can get some feedback from it. And then as time goes on, when more people are going to join and they're going to work from the office, it's going to be good because we're going to have engineers here and we're going to have people that we can rely on as drivers. And I think being in this kind of like in a building like this, it's a good vibe. It gives you a good vibe. It like separates work from home, and it obviously brings you. It kind of keeps you still kind of keeps you motivated going out to the sim and working there because you physically have to go there instead of sitting on the chair, waiting for stuff to happen and like start practicing at home. So yeah, I think it's really beneficial. I mean, I've been enjoying it so far, and I think it is helping me as a driver and as a competitor, socializing with people here physically, rather than just being present online.
And therefore, you are living and breathing sim racing every single day, I imagine.
I am. I would say, yeah. I mean, I'm not here exactly every day. I'm not here for 8 hours, but whenever I'm here, I'm doing the job. I'm doing the job, practicing, doing laps, doing engineer work with Diedrich, and enjoying it. So yeah, it's more of like a job right now. There's still more that I need to kind of improve to improve my workflow. But currently, I'm enjoying life, getting paid. I'm doing something that I love since I can remember, and I hope I can do the job, impress people, impress the team, impress BMW, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the next chapter.
Well, congratulations on your win in Formula E last week, and fingers crossed for many more. And you search and hunt down Erhan at the top of the leaderboard for Formula E Accelerate, because there's a decent prize pot for that one as well, isn't there? That you'll be looking forward to getting your hands on.
Oh yeah, it is a bit decent, yeah, I would say. I'm more here about the respect and pride of winning a championship rather than the money, because I'm sick and tired of people talking about Erhan being on the top. I want to be at the top, so I'm doing my best, practicing. I mean, almost every single day to improve and beat him and prove that I'm the best as well sometimes.
Awesome. Kevin, thank you very much for joining us. Congratulations once again. And it's been great to chat with you and to learn a little bit more about your world with Team Redline and Formula E.
Thanks for having me.
That's it then. VCO Esports Studio, once again, always brings you the most fascinating of guests to chat to, and great to have Kevin Siggy giving us an alternative look at the Formula E Accelerate Championship. Erhan Yuyoski, as I say, does lead that championship, but we've already spoken to him on this show, so we can't speak to him twice. And it was a great opportunity to speak to Kevin Siggy. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for joining us. And every week at 8 o'clock on Mondays, we'll have another guest from you for the world of sim racing. Who knows what it might be? It kind of comes up during the week in our brains. Until then, though, have a great week. Enjoy. Bye-bye.